Hey, and welcome to episode 152 of Meeple to Meeple. On today's episode, this is number 9 in my content creator community series. Now, joining me today is someone who can narrate your rulebook, DM your campaign, and still beat you at your own Euro game with bardic flair. You've likely seen him on screen. You've heard him in movies and video games, and now he's out here performing dramatic monologues about worker placement like it's Shakespeare in the Park. If the park had a board game cafe and a shelf of meeples organized by emotional trauma. His IMDb profile is longer than a Kickstarter launch page translated from 3 different languages, and his Instagram proves he's the only human alive who can deliver flavor text like he's fresh off Broadway. Today, we are talking storytelling, gaming, creativity, and maybe how do you deliver a soul-crushing monologue from the perspective of a meeple who got left in the box. And I'm sorry to say, I'm that sad little meeple left in the box. Today, it's Lincoln Hoppe, the board game bard himself. Lincoln, how are you?
I'm doing great. That was the greatest introduction I've ever heard.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you. That one was
Wonderful to be here.
easy. You had so much information. I was like, oh man, I gotta, it was seamless. So thanks. Thanks. I gotta work on delivery though.
No, it was great. It was great.
So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. We've been talking with content creators throughout the board game community. I've been fortunate enough to talk with creators of various experience. I've had some who've been around for a while. I've had some who I didn't even realize had only been doing this for like less than a year, which was really, really interesting. What was the first game you ever played as a kid?
I remember playing Chutes and Ladders. I remember playing Clue, Life. And I didn't really grab onto games until I first played Dungeons and Dragons when I was about 11. And it was like, there's a whole world of other stuff besides these games that aren't very fun or interesting.
So it's funny that you mentioned the game of life. A few weeks ago, I had Jackie Fox on, the designer of Rock Hard 1977, and she made the comment that, 'cause one of her games she played as a kid was the game of life, and that taught her was not to go to college, get married, or have children.
That's hilarious. And her rock and roll career proved that you can do that, right?
Yeah. And not only that, she confesses that she ended up getting married at one point. She did go to college because she became a
She's a
lawyer.
right?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Great.
crazy. It's just amazing. And what I love about the gaming community, right? It's like we come from all backgrounds.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Even designers, I'm designing a game and my design partner does trainings like tutoring and teaching. It's crazy. There's so many people doing so many different things.
So many things. And
Yeah.
then I just recently learned that you're from Springfield, Illinois, which is where I live now. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around that. It's like people are from here?
Yeah, I lived there. I was born there, and then we packed up and moved to New Jersey, and I lived there until college. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So I imagine that's when you were introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, was college in New Jersey.
No, I
No.
was I was 11,
Okay.
and we lived in New Jersey. I went to stay with my grandparents by myself, which I don't recommend as a 10 or 11-year-old.
Right.
And there was just I had nothing to do. I had no friends for like 3 months. And some neighbors invited me over. They said, come play this game with us. And it was Dungeons and Dragons, and it totally blew my mind. I can't remember if it was like, I think it was Advanced D&D was the current one. And then anyway, that's like first or second edition or 1.5
Yeah.
or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't get into Dungeons and Dragons until I was in high school. I was about 17. and this was 3.5, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is when I got into it. Yeah. Didn't know what it was doing. I was like, wait, I have a piece of paper. Looked like a Scantron, right? With all the bubbles, you're filling in circles. And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. It's so complex. Well, that one was particularly complex. I mean, I've enjoyed board games more since I've started playing
Yeah.
board games. And of course you get with a great group, and it can be very theatrical, and that's fun, and like, board games can't compete with that. But as
Right.
far as having an easy to set up, contained, amazing experience in a short period of time, I'll go for a board game
Yep.
just about any day. Yeah.
I would argue that if I'm at your tabletop, if I'm playing a game with you, it's going to be more theatrical like D&D. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I love to tell the story. My favorite game of all time is the game Obsession by Dan Halligan. And I love to, so if you and I and whoever's playing, right, and let's say you're the Yorks, I'm the Howards, our opponent is playing another family, and they go through they play their cards and do their event, right, whatever, and and one of the cards is a guess is American Heiress. And I look to you and I'm like, and I'm whatever the lord of your family is, I mean, have you heard what's going on across the way at the Cavendish home? Did you hear that American Heiress? They had afternoon tea in their gazebo. Yeah, I've got a role play. When it's not my turn,
Yeah, we played one of the early games that I played as a family, probably sometime around between 2017 and 2020.
yeah.
We played Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I don't know how it happened, but everyone started playing characters. And like when we were negotiating, it was like my daughter started doing this crazy voice, and then we all started doing this voice. It was so fun. It added so much to the game. And, it's a fun game, but we still remember that one time where we all role played, you know,
Right.
7, 8 years ago. It's like so memorable,
Yeah.
so fun.
So when did you get into the modern gaming hobby, and what was the first game that got you into it?
Great question. Um, so I remember going into game stores looking for Dungeons and Dragons dice,
Yeah.
and I always like, what are all these games? And I specifically had an impression that said, don't unless you want to buy so many of these, because they were gorgeous, like the art. And I obeyed that voice that said to not dive in. Years later, I was doing a broadcast show, a Dungeons and Dragons Twitch show, and we were recording right next to a hobby store. I went in, it was just like, man, this looks amazing. And I found out that Wizards of the Coast had a game. I think it was either Rock Paper Wizard, it was Dungeon Mayhem.
Okay.
So I picked it up, just because it was D&D adjacent.
Yeah.
And I knew Wizards of the Coast, and so we got that. Brought it home. It's a kind of a really light game, and my family and I loved it. And that kind of started like, well, what's another kind of game that's kind of similar? And so it all just kind of snowballed from there. We had played Catan with some friends several times, but it was so isolated that
Hmm.
I didn't know you could go into a game store and buy that and other games. So it was just like, come over, we'll play this game called Settlers of Catan, and so I enjoyed that. But we played it every time we went over their house, and it kind of got old really fast. But at first I really enjoyed it. It was never like, let me go out and buy my own copy, or let's go out and buy something similar. So it was kind of branching out from Dungeons and Dragons that opened everything up. But what really changed everything was COVID.
Sure.
Like I had maybe 20 modern board games, but when COVID hit and all my kids came home from college and from where all these places where they were, we started ordering like, what's a Star Wars game that I know
Hmm.
the boys will play? And so
Hmm.
I started going on Amazon
Yeah.
and like ordering games. And that's when it was like, these are amazing. So I was buying so many games. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So very quickly went to about 100 games, just in the first, I don't know, maybe it was the first year of COVID. We were just like, I was buying them almost faster than we could play them, like two or three
Yeah.
times. As well as I do.
I do.
Now it's like I'm buying 3, 4 games at a time, and then they sit on the shelf and you don't even get to them. Like I didn't even know. I remember the first time when I found out, like there was a shelf of shame. I was like, oh, I was telling someone like I have like 10 games I haven't even played yet, and they're like, oh, your shelf of shame, and I was like, wait, what? Shelf of shame?
Yeah.
We all have them. I
Yes.
was like, wow, I thought it was just me. And I much now prefer to call it shelf of opportunity. That's so much better of a term.
We had an entire episode dedicated to how to manage your unplayed games, and we shared different strategies. So it was like,
I need to watch that episode like immediately.
you really do. But here's what I'm going to tell you. This is going to help you to find it. It is not the shelf of shame. We really wanted to get away from that. There should be no shame, right? We want to get away from that.
Right.
And then there's the opportunity. Yes, that's true. But then I could argue all my board games are an opportunity. And then there was like the shelf of shoppertunity. I was like, yeah, okay, that's cute. But that means you're shopping for more games.
That's right.
But because in my professional life, I'm an archivist, it was really easy. I was like, you know what it's called? It's your board game backlog.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that is what I call it. When I talk to creators, I'm like, so what's your backlog like? And they know what I'm talking about. Even if they haven't seen the episode, they know. They know what I'm talking about.
It's
Yeah.
good. I like
I
that.
will give you a tip that may or may not help you.
Please.
So my wife and I, we were both gamers when we met each other, got
Nice.
married, and we've been together for 18 years, married for 16. We try to play every game in our collection a minimum of once per calendar year.
I love that.
We are currently at 90.9%
Wow.
played for 2025.
Holy cow.
Now, here's something really interesting and unintentional that came out of this. We've been doing this for about 4 years now. We have discovered that 300 is the number. We try to maintain a collection of 300 games. No more, no less. Although that sometimes fluctuates, obviously. But that's where we try to keep our collection, is about 300. Because if you've got 1,000 or more, that plan's never going to work.
Yeah.
It's
true. It's true.
But if you've got a family that's playing with you, then you could do it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, I almost never play with other groups, and it's just because I've got my family here, right? It's so
Right.
easy. I enjoy playing with them, and I'm not against playing with other people.
Sure.
That's what we do when we go to conventions. Like I'm like, so fun to play with other people, but it's hard to schedule stuff. It's much easier to say, "Hey, let's play right now."
Right now. Yep.
And there we go. That's funny that you mentioned that. I love that you and your wife were both into board games already, because my wife, before we met, had always played board games growing up, much more often than I had.
Okay.
And I don't think she had played any really serious modern board games. But when we first got married, she was always like, let's play some games. I was like, I don't want to play board games.
Right.
And that was me, right?
Wow.
And it took me discovering them by myself. Like every Christmas, I would get her a board game, and then I would be forced to play it with her. I knew I was buying into this, but I knew that's one of the things she wanted.
Sure.
But I was buying these board games from Walmart or something, where it's just like, here's the board game aisle, and it was just kind of mass market games, and she still loves playing games, but I exhaust her with how often I want to play. Like I want to play nonstop. I want to play games, 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 games. And, I have reviewing responsibilities and Kickstarter preview responsibilities. And although it's great, you get to play a new game to learn the game, then you have to spend, 2, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, on the production side. which is much less fun in one way, but I enjoy filmmaking. So it's also good, but it's less fun than playing games.
So that lends me to a question, because I've got to ask, how do you maintain your joy pushing through all those review responsibilities? Because I have conversations all the time with content creators, and you hear them talk about, I don't even get to play games I want to anymore because I'm playing games for review purposes.
It's a real issue, yeah.
Sure. What do you do to maintain that level of joy that you want to get to the table all the time?
Well, first of all, I try to only request or accept games that I really think I'm going to enjoy. So
Okay.
I gatekeep reviews as much as possible, much more so now
Yeah.
than I used to, because there's just not enough time. There's just not enough time. So I'm setting myself up for joy. And one of the reasons I was buying so many games during COVID is because I love the experience of playing a new game. I don't
Yeah.
love it as much as learning it, like especially with
Yeah.
heavy games. The
Yeah.
learning can be really tedious, but the excitement of discovering how it works and like that second play, you know, with a complex game, like half or three quarters of the way through, you're like, I think I get it. It's too late
Right.
to win. And then on that second game, it's still new, it's still exciting,
Mhm.
but you're like, yes, I love that new experience. So I really love getting and playing new games. And the bottleneck is time. The bottleneck is so much time. But I also have a very childlike love of playing games. Like my wife is like, I don't like this game as much, and I'm like, you haven't played it enough. Or she's like, this is not a good game, and I'm like, but the thing here where you're doing this, like, I can really appreciate one mechanic in a game that may not be great, but like I'm like, this mechanic is great and I love it. And then if the art is great, it's like, I love this game even though I'll look it up on BGG and it's like, oh, it's like not rated very well. What's wrong with me that I like it so much? But I'm able to enjoy the experience. This is kind of not exactly answering your question, but it's related in that my wife likes to win and I like to play. So
Okay.
I can literally enjoy a gaming experience where I'm getting slaughtered
Sure.
and just not
Absolutely.
have a problem with that. Whereas my wife, like, I'll sometimes let her win, or yeah, purposely not.
Don't say
Yeah,
that too loud.
she doesn't like that. But I make a lot of mistakes. Like I'll forget to do stuff. We talked briefly about neurodivergent. I'm very scatterbrained. I'm very ADHD, and I will miss moving up my points, but I'll also miss reducing points. And so my wife kind of is like, did you remember to lose 2 points for that? I was like, nope, thank you. But there's just something about the mechanics and the theme of games that makes it
Mm.
so that I could be humiliated in a loss, you know, which I
And still have
was in
fun.
playtest recently, and I just still love it. So I can really find joy in just about any game I play, even if it's not a great game. I can find something that I appreciate. And I think that's part of my optimistic attitude, but also I don't think things are worth doing if you're not going to enjoy them. So I try to find a way to enjoy the things that I have to do. Like even putting away the dishes, I can gamify that or I can make that into a creative act and really enjoy that, which is really related to my acting career. I took a huge turn when auditions can be really anxiety creating and not fun and can be, people look at them as rejection and especially like if you have to memorize 30 pages in 2 days to do these auditions, like it can be overwhelming and not fun. And someone said something that turned to the switch. Basically, my change was I'm going to enjoy every audition I do. And that changed everything. Conscious
Sure.
choice to enjoy this thing that hasn't been fun for me changed everything. And so I now try to, like, if I have to do something I don't want to do, I find a way to enjoy it. So
That's
that's
really,
been a hack for me.
yeah,
Nice
that's
life
really
hack.
good. That's really good life advice. Like, I'm just listening to you and I'm like, I should probably do that more in my life. I would be much happier in my day to day at home with the chores, things I don't want to do.
It really,
That's
it
good.
really is a wonderful way to live. And I'll give you one more hack
Okay.
if you want to pursue that. It started with, like, I can't remember how it started, but it was like, envision a great day or look forward and plan on having a great day. And there was just a point where I was like, that's great advice. But when I started saying, like, in the first thing in the morning, this is a great day, no matter how I felt, I was able to prove myself right. I
There
can
you go.
consciously say today is going to be amazing,
Yeah.
and then make the day amazing, and I don't have to do anything different. And because I'm having a great day, and my intention is to have a great day, it makes it so much easier to say this is for my own good and for my own experience. So yay, I learned a
Yes.
horrible lesson today that I don't have to repeat in 2 years or 2 months. That living intentionally in a way of, like, today is freaking amazing. Like, the more I decide that today is amazing, the more amazing it is, because I don't do this every day, right? But if I double down and think today's going to be freaking amazing, it is. So
Awesome.
there is something to that intentionality. And so when I drop my daughter off for school, I've only got one left at home. I say, have a great day, or, like, you can make your day great. And, like, she's like, yeah, dad, but she'll come home and sometimes I'll ask her, how was it? It's like, it was great.
You
So,
were right, Dad.
right, which they hardly ever want to admit.
True. Very true. So, intentionality. I'm so glad you brought that up. And I want to talk about that. Is I'm really interested in the story about, so it's 2020, COVID, we're locked down, you're buying a lot of games, you're playing with your family. At some point, you transitioned just a casual gamer to being a content creator, right? And we've talked a lot about, well, what's the distinction? And I think it's intentionality, right? Is you're not just posting a photo to share, you're being intentional about the content you're putting out in the world. Tell me about that story about, I mean, what was that like, and what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have been making social media videos. I guess it's probably been 10 years, but it's all been comedy,
Right?
or, acting plugs like, hey, I'm in so and so, which, by the way, I am in the absolute number one TV show slash movie of all times this week. I'm in the most popular show. I only have one line and I'm only in two scenes, and I don't recommend you watch it, but I was tickled to death when I found out the number one most popular, according to Internet Movie Database, IMDb, number one, it's season 3 of Monster. And again, I do not recommend it. Ordinary board gamer watched it and he was like, oh, I kind of wish I hadn't seen it. My scene is interspersed with some really gory
Okay.
imagery. So at some point I'll post my little clip. But anyway, so that's just, it's really cool right now. If you go look it up, it's
Absolutely.
number one. It's number one.
Gonna have to
So
check it
on
out.
the star meter. But anyway, I was promoting. I would go on and say, "Hey, I'm in this show. Watch it out. Come watch it." Or it's on such and such. It's on CBS. It's on NBC. Or I would just do comedy videos. So I was used to producing a lot of stuff. Just there was a time where I was putting out a video or two a day, posting to TikTok. And, there came a point at which I was like, well, why don't I use those same skills for board games? And I don't know why it took me so long to come around to it. Part of it was like, I don't know if I want to make my passionate hobby into work, which that's absolutely a trade-off, as you know.
Yeah.
Like there's some fun that's removed from games because like I have to play this again to give it another shake because I didn't enjoy it that much, but I want to make sure I've covered the bases. And just like, honey, we have to play this game. You know, and she's like, because I'm saying it, we have to, because I do, but I need to say it. I need to say it better. But
We get
honestly,
to. We
that's right.
get to play it.
That's right. I was spending so much money on Kickstarters. My wife was saying, you can't do this. You can't. I mean, I was spending my own film money. She didn't say you can't do this, but she was like, I need you to, you should watch more carefully what you're spending. And when I looked at it, it was like, it was a lot. You know, 150 for this Kickstarter, 200 plus $40 shipping for that one, and all that stuff. And that's when like this thought came into my mind, or she said it, I don't remember what it was. Like, what if you review them and have review copies sent? Which I think most content creators, whether they want to admit that or not, was a thought that played through their head. And, you know, I wish I could say it was like completely like, let's make some game content. But it was really like, I can't do this. And it was just kind of like, well, there's this world where people want you to play their games and want you to write stuff about it or post stuff about it. So that's kind of when I started thinking more seriously about that. And then, you know, acting world and board game world came together, and I do really enjoy it. I really enjoy getting games that I would never have picked off a shelf, you know, but like a publisher will email me and say, are you interested in this? I'll look it up on BGG, and I'll look at the pictures and I'll read the synopsis like, this sounds really interesting. And so I'm exposed to games that I would not pick just based on the cover in the game store, you know, which is fantastic because that's how I learned I love so many mechanics I'd never heard of before.
Right.
And plus combined with the fact that I love new games. So it's all just kind of it's a happy place where everything kind of converges and works together in my favor and the publisher's favor in most cases.
Sure.
Yeah.
I kind of pride myself on this. I don't do top 10 lists. I don't do reviews, but what I do want is probably something, your most valuable asset, and that's your time. Because I want you to come on the show and talk to me for an hour. But I feel like when I'm talking to publishers or first time designers, there's less pressure for me. Like, I just need you to sit down and talk about your game for an hour. And who knows it better than you, right?
Yeah.
But it has afforded me, and I'm very fortunate. I am very fortunate that my wife shares this passion too. We love play testing.
Ooh,
We
yes.
love to play test, right? We discovered that was a real thing. We discovered it together at Gen Con in 2021, I think it was. And so now, like just the other night, we got a game delivered to the house. It's a prototype. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to have to play that with our local group here. So when I say we have to play a game, we have to play test it because they don't let us keep the prototype forever.
Right.
But we've really come to enjoy that. And that's a big selling point because she and I look at games very differently. I look at theme. How do I feel? I'm all about the experience. She's all about the rule book. How easy is it to set up? And those are really important things for a designer. And so we get to share that too, which is kind of
really well-rounded feedback that you guys can give.
Yes. And as fellow creatives, we understand the value of feedback. So we want to make sure the feedback we're giving to you is constructive, you know. And so so that's a lot. That's a lot of fun. So do you have this question I've been asking everyone? It's in two parts. It's in two parts because the first part is or can be rather difficult. Do you have a favorite board game of all time? If you don't, because see, I believe in compassion and love for my fellow man and woman. That's why there's a second part to this question. if you don't have a favorite of all time, do you have a favorite today that's just hitting your table a lot right now?
You know, that's a great follow-up question too. Because Tag Team is a new Hachette game,
Okay.
and it's a little card programmer dueling game. It's so light and so fun, and it's got like 16 characters or 12 characters in the box. And so every time you play it, you have a different combination. In fact, each player plays two characters. And
Okay.
anyway, it's light, but it's so fun. Because it's short, I can't stop playing it. And another one that goes right with it, because I'm doing a video comparing the two, is Neon Knight.
I don't know that
They're
I'm
very
familiar with
they're
that.
very similar. It's another dueling game, and that one's by Manny Tremblay. Have been playing less Euro games lately. Euro games are my favorite. I mean, that's what I love. I'm just looking this up so I can.
King of the Euro games, Vital Lacerda, right?
You're not going to believe it. I do not think I have ever played a Lacerda game.
Oh, that's disappointing because I
Now,
was
I
going to
should
ask
look
you
that
if
up.
you backed Speakeasy. It's coming out shortly, should be arriving soon, and that's his new one coming out, and we're really excited about it. We did an entire episode just on Lacerda's games, trying to get him on the show, but you know, he's an important
Everyone
man.
asks me that, and so I obviously I have to play. But I'll tell you this too: I skew to medium weight games,
Okay.
and I believe his games tend to be heavier.
Hmm. Yes.
And so that since I've become a more serious, heavier board gamer, that is the first thing that I look at is how long is this going to take me to learn to play? Can I get it to the table? It's Neon Rain, by the way.
Okay.
Neon Rain,
Neon
it's a Manny
Rain.
Tremblay game. Chip Theory is co-producing it
Okay.
with Manny's new board game company, Neon Night Games.
And so, just as a reminder for everyone who's listening, you're comparing Tag Team to Neon
Rain.
Night Rain. Neon Rain.
And
Okay.
Neon Rain they're both, I mean, they come in almost the same size box. They're totally
Um,
different, but they're both dueling games. And Neon Rain is kind of like the cards are joysticks, like you're doing combos like up, up, button. And so it's really clever. They both play so quickly that I think one of the reasons I got hooked on both of these so quickly was because you can play 3 games in the space of 45 minutes. And so my
wow.
wife beats me. I'm like, again. And we'll play again. And then we're both like, again, right? For both of those games.
Sure.
There's really something. And interestingly enough, I think that ties into the conversation about Lacerda and heavier games because I'm looking up Speakeasy. I must have played some of his other games.
You've
But
had to.
again, that's like when it takes 4 hours to learn and play a game, it's so hard. It's so hard to program that in. I've always wanted to play Lisboa because I lived in Lisbon. I lived in
Okay.
Portugal. I've requested House of Fado for the same reason, Portugal. I've wanted to play, what is it, On Mars.
On Mars.
I've wanted to play Weather Machine. Bot Factory is kind of a lightweight entry, I think. That's a lighter weight. I backed that and I ended up not getting it fulfilled. So anyway,
That
I
happens.
know that this is a lacking of mine, but again,
It's okay.
those heavy games, they're just so
Yeah.
hard. And when I'm getting review copies, like that's kind of I'm not looking at heavy games unless someone's saying we review this.
Okay.
And
Sure.
then I have to decide if it's above a 4 on Board Game Geek, I probably won't be able to get to it.
Right. Well, it just means that you have a lens that you're looking at board games through, and so you have to be selective because, like you said, our time is limited. So let's talk about the community. I wanna get your opinion on what is the one thing in your mind that makes our community so great? What is it that we do so well that you're proud to be a part of it?
I don't know if I'm exactly answering the question,
Okay.
but there's something about the shared story. There's something about when I look at you and I know you play board games and you tell me you're into theme, part of me leaps. Part of me, that part of me that resonates in the same way, like instantly makes me feel like I know you because you love something that I love as well. So there's something about that in the community. When someone says, I played such and such and I liked it, and I liked it, I feel like I know that person, even if it's just in a small way. And
Right.
so when, and that doesn't mean we can't have differences of opinion. In fact, sometimes those differences of opinion shed more light on similarities and contrasts,
Yeah.
which is so interesting. I think it used to be my most popular YouTube video because I'm newer to YouTube, was my SETI review,
Ooh,
where I
yeah.
start off by saying I hated this game. And then people are like, what? And then I go through why I hated it and why I played it again and again and again because everyone loved it. And I was like, there are people out there that I know and trust or whose opinions I look up to. They liked it. What am I missing? And in listening to their voices, and my wife was like, I'm not playing this again. And I was telling her, look at this reviewer loves it. They love it. So many people love it. But there was something about being able to reach out and watch people's videos that made me feel like there was something more that I wasn't getting. And like I said, on that second play, I liked it more. On that third play, I loved it. And so there's just something about you like a game, it looks terrible to me. You say you like it, you tell me a little bit about it, and there's something about that exchange that makes me go off and have my own experience that I love.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what came to mind. And I know it doesn't necessarily answer the question, or I'm answering the question in my own ways,
Which is fine.
but it's really that connection. And I love sitting down at conventions and playing with other people. But I do feel like so much of the connection that I value transfers through the camera.
Right?
And so when you're doing a
Yes.
podcast and I watch your podcast and I relate, that can be deeper than sitting across the table and playing together, right?
Sure.
Because so and so reviewer is pouring out their heart about what they love about this game. That resonates in a deep way with me, you
Right.
know. Even if I'm like, wow, I love that they love that. I hated it. I feel like I know you a little better. I know where we're different.
Sure.
So that's what I call like a shared story. Like we're sharing, your story resonates with my story. Even though they're different stories, there's a connection between our experiences and our
So I
personal stories.
I think if Socrates once said the unexamined life is not worth living.
Mm.
I think if Socrates were alive today and he was a board gamer, he would say the unexamined board game's not worth playing. I truly believe he would say that, right? Alternatively, I've recently been thinking about this. So the Roman orator Cicero, who I quote constantly on the show. So Cicero said that a room without books is like a body without a soul.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I think if he were alive today and a board gamer, I think he would say the same thing. He would seem to come to the same conclusion about humanity and our shared stories. And he would say that a room without board games is like a body without a soul. I feel like board games are the connection that are the building blocks of our culture. And the conversations and the laughter, that's the glue that holds us all together. and unites us, right?
Yeah,
And we can't have unity, which is a message we need right now. We can't have unity without diversity.
that's right.
They go hand in hand,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I feel like I love what you said and the way that my brain interpreted it. Or tell me the Cicero quote again with board games substituted in there.
a room without board
Room.
games is like a body without a soul.
Yeah. I truly feel like every board game, and some do it much better than others, is a whole world within a box.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when a game delivers on that, like 100% or 150%, like I'm on that crazy scale, like an average game may deliver 80% on being a different world. But when a game delivers a new world for me in a box, like an experience of a world that I've never imagined or never seen before, or even a world like Star Wars, a Star Wars game, a world that I already know and enjoy. There's just something magical about that. There's something magical. I've got some of my favorites back here, like Wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
I resisted Wingspan for like a year or two. Like, who wants to play a game about birds? Not this guy. Like literally, and again, going back to community, so many people said they loved it, so many people said they liked it for this reason, they loved it for that reason, that I was like, you know what, i'm going to trust all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I went
Yeah.
out and got it, and everyone in my family loved it, some more than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
But like, there's a world of birds that I didn't know existed in that game,
Right?
just
Yes.
from the art, the flavor text, the wingspan measurements. And there's an app where you hold it up to the card and you hear the tweeting of the bird, whatever. So
Yeah.
like, there's literally a world within the box.
I know. I know.
So I just love that. I
And
really
that
do.
going back to my introduction, that poor little meeple that got left in the box, right?
That's right. That's right.
So let me ask you here's the flip side. Is there anything that you've seen? And if so, what is it you see the community maybe needs more work, right? Just gets wrong or just has room for improvement? Because I think in order for an individual, a community of individuals to get better, we have to recognize, maybe we need to do better at this thing.
Wow. I have not thought of this. So my mind instantly went to certain creators who are very much in a minority, who can be unkind, either to, I have much less of a concern about them being unkind to a game. Because if they hate a game and they're a blunt person, great, say that. But again, there are some creators that are unkind to other creators, and I really don't enjoy that. But again, it's such a minority that, and I mean publicly unkind in their posts or in their videos. But it's such a minority that it almost doesn't bear saying, because everyone probably agrees. Why be mean? Besides, you
Right.
get you get views and controversies. So I do think that's a interesting segue. I'm hungry. Segue that I've taken there, because content creator wise, and this is how I'm connected to most other gamers. Like, I don't have a game community here besides a few friends. So
Okay.
I'm talking mostly about content creators. I don't like that views and likes and comments and algorithms are a gatekeeper between creators and other viewers who would totally resonate with the content. Like, Instagram knows that so and so would love my content, but it's going to prioritize someone with way more videos put out. I'm not even talking about views. I'm talking about like someone who's put
Right.
out 200 videos the algorithm knows their style better and can recommend them better, but it prioritizes that. So anyway, the algorithm has also favored me at times. So it's a toss up, but I just never like when an art or an opinion is filtered through a machine.
Right.
And
Right.
it's the way it's got to be, but I just don't. I wish that could change. And I don't have any suggestions. Just besides, in our board game community, we are completely filtered by the people who have the most followers, the most views. And there's so many, like, I've gone to several Instagram accounts where it's like I've seen the most amazing board game photography. And the person started like 6 months ago and they've got like 25 followers. And I'm like, how are people not finding this photography?
Right.
Maybe other people don't like pretty board game photography, but like I'll try to share, repost now. You can repost and that kind of stuff, or do a story, you know, with some of their work. But anyway, that's just to say that it's so heartbreaking to see someone with such talent who
Hmm.
I know they're going to have to stick it out for another 2 years to
Right.
really get any traction.
Yeah. It's
Because I'm just
it's
starting to
really
get traction.
interesting.
I've been doing it for 2 years.
Sure.
You just have to stick with it.
It's it's really interesting as a podcaster. I have this conversation with my friends all the time. I don't view myself as a content creator. Now, I create content. So, by definition, I'm a content creator. But I see myself as a podcaster, right? Because I don't do what everyone else is doing, right? I'm more interested in talking to you about you and the games you love. And when are you going to be in Springfield so we can play a board game together, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm here for, the people and the relationships, and the board games is the connection that allows me to nurture the community in my own little way. So the number that's really important to me, it's not subscribers, it's not followers, it's reach.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, I can have a great message, I can elevate the conversation and introduce you and quote Cicero and Socrates and Plato and C.S. Lewis till I'm blue in the face. But if no one's listening, then I'm just talking to the wall, right? So that's the number or the analysis I'm really interested in. The problem is it's directly connected to the subscribers and all that crazy jazz. So yeah, so the community's at the whim of this algorithm, and we do what we can
It's
do.
true. And you know what? I don't want to be all down on it, because
Yeah.
at the same time, the same mechanism and the same platforms have brought us together,
Yes.
right? If
Right.
it wasn't for the algorithm, it wasn't for Instagram, if it wasn't for this, you and I
Right.
wouldn't have connected, as
True.
well as all these other wonderful creators and board gamers. So it works both ways.
It does.
I'm very aware of that. It really does. It does hurt to see someone who's so talented and they've got something to say, but they just can't ride it out for a year or two
Sure.
years
Yeah.
because it is heartbreaking to post something and then no one sees it. Just like what you're saying,
Nobody.
like, why am I posting?
Right.
Why am I
Right.
posting?
So you've got, what advice do you have for someone who's thinking about joining this community and they're like, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to be vulnerable, I'm going to put myself out there, I want to make content, I want to do what you do. What do you tell them?
I mean, I think somebody asked me just recently, and the first thing I told them was exactly what we were just talking about. If you want to do this, you have to know that unless you get extremely lucky or tap into some formula that either nobody else has done or that everybody else is doing, but you can do it better, it's going to take you a year. It's going to take you 2 years to just get to the point where it feels like it's making sense, like so that's a big thing. I've only just now gotten to the point where, like, publishers are getting in touch with me that my numbers don't justify, right? Like my follower counts and views don't justify, but they're like, we saw your video on this.
Yeah.
We want you to make one for us. That just like, you can't necessarily put that out in your first month of making content, you
Yeah.
know? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's a curve, there's a learning curve. The connections will also take years. I've been doing this for just over 2 years, and there's still some publishers who will not even respond to my emails,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's like this in every industry. There's people who are like, but and I know when I hit 10,000 here or whatever, they will return my email. And again, I'm not saying they're bad people for that, because it's a numbers game. We were talking about time before. So and so at huge company, they don't have time to open
Yeah.
everybody's email. So I get it. But you
Absolutely.
have to know going in that you are building something from the ground up,
Yes.
and it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. So I have a story I want to share with you, which I'm now going to share with my listeners as well, because I have some
I get to hear
dedicated
it first.
listeners.
I
Yeah.
get to hear it first.
You get to hear it first. So it was over the summer, and at some point, my wife and I watched the documentary. It was about Jaws celebrating its 50th anniversary, and there was like all these interviews with Steven Spielberg. And I was like, that would be a cool episode if I get Brian Kirk, the designer of Jaws, who got the license for it through Ravensburger, right? If I could get him on the show. I was talking to our good friend Craig from Get Into Games, and he's like, no, just have Steven Spielberg come on your podcast. So, no, I'm not having Steven Spielberg on the show. I wish I could say that. But this is your point, right? So I know that I'm not going to get to email Steven Spielberg directly and he's going to respond. That's absurd. But he has people. So there was a game designer who came on the show who it's like, well, look, I've got these contacts, and sent me these emails. So I emailed all of them, at Amblin Entertainment, and I'm like, hi, this is who I am with my 2,000 followers. And I would like to have Steven Spielberg come on the show and talk about this board game that, I thought it'd be cool to have him and Brian Kirk on, so you could get that juxtaposition of board game designer and movie director talking about this board game. Like, that's how I envisioned this episode going.
Right.
I did get a response from Amblin Entertainment to say, you've emailed the wrong people. Here's the right person to email. And so I did email that person, but like you just said, I've got no response.
And my life is so much better when I started looking at it like those people have just as limited time as I do. And, if my personal TikTok channel has like 500,000 followers, I don't even look at my messages. I can't. There's like, if I've got a video that's popular, it could be like 20, 30, 50, 100 a day. I can't. Like, there's just not time. And so when I realized that, like, this person doesn't have anything against me, they don't hate me, they just don't have the time, and they have to set filters, right?
Yes.
So that made me happier to realize that, like, so and so, and that's like a goal, so and so, a publisher they'll respond to my emails same day when I've kept building myself up, but it's
Right.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I need to do is reach out to George Lucas in 2027 when Star Wars is 50 years old and like the new hot Star Wars board game is out. He's retired. He's done. He could talk to me for an hour.
That's right. Oh, here's another tip that I know can come in handy. And it sounds like you do your research on stuff, but if you can find some weird tangent that you have in common, it's a lot easier to get some of these people on your show. Like a silly example is, I can't think of a specific example, but like so and so who's an A-list actor, but has a son who loves this board game is way more likely to come on your show and say, yeah, I'm not going to charge you my usual $50,000 fee, but like my son will see this. He will, those kind of connections, like if you can find those, that really can help you jump the line fast.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
in the film world. That's how a lot of my friends have gotten a hold of these famous actors who would never, ever consider. For example, I have some friends who just did a World War II movie, and they were able to get in touch with Tom Hanks because they know that Tom Hanks loves World War II and has made a ton of World War II movies. So that was their angle. And they got in touch with his people, and they were able to connect.
Good.
So those kinds of things, it's the same thing with publishers, right? If you
Right.
research their games and you email them and say, hey, Windmill Valley is like my favorite game of all times. I love you guys. Thank you for creating this. Just a compliment or something can go a long way too. And if you don't do your research, you won't know.
That's
Doing
true.
mass emails or
I
something.
think that your advice just now is directly connected to your earlier thesis about the shared story, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's what you're talking about. Is
You're
you have
right.
maybe I don't have a shared story with Steven Spielberg, but I've got a shared story with his son or his grandson, and that would help. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, see, guys, I say it all the time. Cicero said all the humanities are inherently linked as if by a common bond. I prove it to you. Every week I prove this to y'all. We'll see. We'll see.
I love it.
Yes. So there you go. So Lincoln, tell everyone if they want to reach out to you, how can they find you? What's your preferred platform and all the socials?
Yeah, so I bounce back and forth from platforms, but I am the Game Bard on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm really right now, my YouTube was the smallest, and now it's the fastest growing just because for the last 6 months I've been hitting it really hard. But I think I check Instagram messages the most. You can also email me at lincoln@thegamebard.com. And if you want to look at my other silly, wacky videos, it's just at Lincoln Hope, and that's with two P's, Hoppe. And that's my secular non-board game channel. Secular meaning non-board game. And yeah, those are probably the best ways. And always, you should look me up on IMDb because people get a kick out of that. They're like, I didn't know he was in stuff. I saw that. Oh my gosh, he was the guy that it's really fun. So just go to imdb.com, type in my name, Lincoln Hope with two P's. It'll show you a list of everything I've been in. And I bet you've seen or played a game, or I narrate audiobooks too. So I get people now and then saying, I just heard such and such and you narrated it, like I really enjoy hearing that. So feel free to reach out anytime, either on Instagram. Again, I check the most, or send me an email because I do enjoy hearing that you saw something that I was in, or you listened to a book. I love that stuff. Or you enjoyed such and such a video, leave a comment.
Yes.
I'm reading everything, all my comments on YouTube right now, because it's definitely one of the ways that you grow. And so I'm reading and responding to every comment. So if you want to watch one of my videos there and respond, is there even a way to direct message people on YouTube? If there is, I haven't found it, but
I don't
I
think
look
so.
at the comments, and I love getting them. I love responding to them.
Yep.
So yeah.
I'm the same. I'm the same way. With that in mind, guys, please make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave comments. I read them all. Y'all don't send me a lot of comments, so it's easy. But I love the comments, and I read them all. Make sure. So, as always,
enough if you're not getting enough comments.
That is the reality. I'm not controversial because I'm trying to nurture unity, and I don't know what's more controversial than unity. I mean, who knows? But yeah. But as always, guys, Lincoln, thank you so much for joining me. Be kind to each other. Be kind to each other, and let's play more games.
I'm in.